Alright, welcome back. Hope you're having a good day. It's about time for a maintenance prune on this Brazilian Raintree. When I'm done with it, it's hard to really see some of the things I'm talking about with all this overgrowth on here or whatever. When I'm done with it, I'll show you a little more of what it is I'm talking about as I go. But this is it's my failed air layer. It's got a big chunk of dead wood on the other side that you guys could probably see a lot better once I trim everything else back. And then because it was a failed air layer, when I took it off, or when I took the air layer off, I thought it was completely gone. I happened to have just like a pot there with some soil in it, so I just kind of threw it down in there, kind of in disgust, and walked away. And then a few months later, I saw it had a bunch of growth. And that's this main part here, with the failed part being right about in here where my hand is. And then somehow or another over time, this has like sprouted out from the side, and then this other one is sprouted out from the side. Since the last time I've done a video, I've cut the whole thing back a couple times, and then I've actually cut these back. I don't know if you can see, there's a pruning mark right there, and then there's two or three on that other one. God damn it, got myself with a thorn. Anyway, just as I get started, you know, the more you take off right away, the more this all starts making sense to you or whatever. When I do go to repot this, I have thought about trying to break these off and maybe taking part of the stump with them, but then I'm afraid it's going to take too much of that stump. And so instead of planning on that, I'm going to plan on keeping them, but I do want to keep them pruned as far back as I possibly can. And so I'm going to prune this one down to its last node, and then the other one here, because I plan on keeping them, this one's quite a bit thicker, and it has quite a bit more ramification off of it. So I'm going to be a little more judicious, or should I say, not so reckless with how far I go back with it. And so that'll be about it for that guy. This one is just a little branch that kind of randomly just sprouted right off the trunk there. And take that one completely off. So that's that chunk of growth there. And that chunk of growth kind of tamed all the way back. Again, just preserving a little bit of the ramification there, especially if I ever do decide to separate it from the main stump. Everything else, I do want to try to just, again, you know, judiciously prune back. I want to save as much of the growth as possible. I think it's a really cool looking tree with that little dead piece there. All right, so the jury's still out on what I plan on doing with the dead wood. This is a piece of it there. That piece just broke. And you know what, that's fine, because I was actually just about to say I'd like to save a lot of the dead wood, but I might cut some of the longer pieces off today. So some of the longer pieces are pretty thin and brittle. Because everything I have is tropical except for my one lone juniper, really don't plan on doing a whole lot of line sulfuring or anything like that. I have gone to experiment with a little bit of tung oil. I think it kind of makes the tree look a little bit like you're trying to make it look like a piece of furniture. But I may experiment with that with this tree today. But anyhow, as I was saying, this piece is dead, this piece is dead, and then that little dead twig that I just cut a lot off of, I may even go ahead and cut that whole thing off there. Opens up a little more room. This thing does get, like this branch right here, sprouted right there and has made its way all the way to the canopy. Does get some wild growth. So here, even though there wasn't a good node that I cut back to there, I did leave 2 of those branches. If it dies all the way back to that node, that'll be okay. At least it's facing away from the tree. See, I'm trying to go back to about 1 inch out from the last time I cut. I definitely don't want to start getting to where I'm kind of pollarding it. That's what some people do with their crepe myrtle trees, and it really turns out to be an ugly pruning job over time. So I pruned to here at some point, and I pruned to here at some point. I might even go back beyond that just a little bit there. Few of the times I've done some pruning on this tree, I was fairly timid because, well, I mean, no other way to put it other than I like it so much, and I wanted to make sure I didn't get too aggressive with it and kill it off. I mean, the way that this thing kind of clung to life and sprung back for me kind of puts a little soft spot in my heart for it, so I do want to try to save as much of it as possible. Like this piece, I probably tried really hard to leave a live node there, and I wound up with 2 nodes popping out. And since 2 nodes popped out of there, I'm going to count on perhaps one of them living, but just in case, I'm going to leave a node on this one, just in case that piece does die back. And then all of a sudden, just like that, that's all that growth. Sometimes, after I cut it back like this, I kind of wish I could come in and make a video when it recovers, because that's when it looks the best. About the time that the other one that I have that needs wire taken off soon, this one might be exploding with growth. Maybe I will try to give a quick update on this one when I do that. A little bit of this twig of the dead part was falling off too. I might take that off. And maybe the tip of this one too. Alright, I wanted to adjust the camera and get in here a little bit closer. And as I was doing that, I just kind of noticed a couple things. This branch here is kind of growing up into these, and it's got a node that's pointing that way. So I'm going to cut it off in the hopes that it'll just kind of start growing out away from these 2. And then I shouldn't leave these 2 here growing out of the same spot. This one's kind of growing straight up where I want this to be the crown. And so I'm going to leave that one as a lateral branch there. And then I'm going to do the same thing right here, and that, you know, the main part of this branch is up this way, and then there's 2 coming off the exact same spot there, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut off one of them. And then another reason I just wanted to get up a little bit closer, you can see here where the bark is starting to, you know, exfoliate, which is part of the reason why people like rain trees. But it's also cracking up towards where that dead spot was. And the same thing right there. And again, this is the dead spot here. I'm still a little up in the air what I want to do with the dead spot. I know I don't want to lime sulfur it. That's so hard on that camera viewer. It's hard for me to tell what you guys will be able to see. I know I don't want to lime sulfur it. It's the same color. I've actually tried doing that tung oil on several of my other trees. And it's kind of the same color that the tung oil makes it anyway, so I'm not going to do anything right now, just in case I change my mind. I was thinking about cutting them off a lot shorter, but I don't think it really makes any difference whether I do it now or 6 months from now or whatever. So for now, I think I'm just going to leave it alone while I just kind of think about things a little bit, and I'll let it grow from here.